Thank you so much, Mirabeth Wilkinson, for accepting my invitation for the first Attain Technical podcast with a very important topic. You have been indeed a champion in the workforce development, employment, training education, and have assisted so many newcomers in the United States. It's an honor to have you. Your insights, your recommendations, and practical strategies will help our new American neighbors achieve long-term self-sufficiency. So thank you so much again for accepting Tain invitation for this technical podcast.
Oh, well, Sababun, thank you so much. It is truly an honor to be here, to have this conversation with you on some topics that are very important to me personally and professionally. I have so much respect for you as a fellow professional, and what you are doing through this podcast is really exciting and definitely so needed. So thank you.
Thank you so much for the kind words. Likewise, a lot of respect for you, for your experience, for your education, knowledge, and that will remain. Starting with our first general question, as you can see, we have a lot of new neighbors, a lot of newcomers, arrivals to the United States. So I'd like to know some tips from you because you've been in this industry for a significant number of years. Let's say if someone is new to the United States, what are some most important things to know when starting a job search here in the United States?
Yeah, that is such an important and really vital question. I will say that something when I've worked with newcomers in different roles as they're about to try to join the American workforce, perhaps they have had a real gap in their resume because of their immigration experience.
Exactly.
Perhaps they don't have a lot of professional experience either in their home country or here in the United States. And for specifically women, perhaps they took time because they were focusing on their education. They were focusing on caring for their children at home.
Absolutely.
And I think sometimes there can be a tendency almost to be apologetic, almost to hesitate or feel bad about that gap in experience. And I would say I think that's a mistake. Be confident.
Absolutely.
Especially if you're a newcomer, you know what it is to have to be flexible, to shift from one cultural context to another.
Totally.
If you're a mother, I'm a mother. You have to be so flexible and able to multitask. Those are skills that employers want, that employers need. And so I really think, use it as your superpower as you're starting your job search.
Absolutely. These are wonderful tips. Being confident, adjusting themselves with the culture, the workforce culture, definitely different what they had in their primary countries. As you mentioned, overall confidence is important and being active in the process. Thank you for those wonderful tips. Regarding the tools, resources, because tools and resources are really important in the process, especially conducting job search practically here in the United States. What are some most common tools or resources that can be utilized or they can use when they are conducting a job search here in the United States?
So one area that I would encourage people to put a lot of focus on is your resume, right? And I've seen sometimes people will have, oh yes, I have a resume. It's up to date. And I want to say, how many resumes do you have? Because essentially you need one resume per application, right? You don't have to change everything, but you want to make sure that you have tailored you've edited, you've personalized your resume to the job description for the job you're applying to,
To
so
match
that
up, exactly. Mm-hmm.
exactly, so that people can see, oh, like, wow, this person would be a great fit for this particular job.
Yes.
And there is a tip sheet that I've created in collaboration with some of my colleagues that I can share with you, that
Wonderful.
really demonstrates how to strengthen your resume, but not just what to do, but the why. What's the logic according to the American context? And why is it important to build your resume in this specific way?
Mm-hmm.
I would also recommend LinkedIn. I think it's a tool that sometimes people will have a LinkedIn profile and then they don't do much with it.
They didn't use
But
it
there's
that much.
exactly. It is your platform to connecting to people,
Absolutely.
and reaching out to strangers, right? Reaching out to people that you don't know. But on LinkedIn, it's considered to be appropriate. It's a great way to be like, hey, I admire your work. I'd love to know more about your organization. Could we set up a 20-minute, 30-minute meeting and essentially have an informal, informational interview where you're getting to know them genuinely, but they're also seeing how you think, the kind of passion you bring, what kind of skills. I would recommend LinkedIn Premium, although there is a fee with that. You can usually get 1 month free, but at the very least, make sure that you use LinkedIn Premium or LinkedIn, the free version, and that you're posting and interacting every week.
Yeah, I mean, that's an important piece, because in LinkedIn you have professionals, you have professional organizations that may have alignment with your work. So yeah, being active in the LinkedIn is definitely something to consider, and that's wonderful tips. Thank you, Mirabet. Regarding there's an issue of negotiations in salary or benefits, because sometimes they have some sort of fear. If they go deeply into negotiation, they may not be able to get that offer, right? Or that job, especially those with the background in their primary countries. So what are some of your tips for them to be confident in this process, is to talk their benefits, to talk the salary, with no fears? Any tips in that regard? Because we see a lot of concerns, a lot of issues with that, especially like I mentioned with newcomers or refugee women, or even the males with the background, with a very good background, but they have some fears of how to negotiate salary and another benefit that will help them with their long-term self-sufficiency.
Yeah, I appreciate that question, because I do think it's very normal in negotiation to have some anxiety, some uncertainty, because you're asking for something where the other person may say no, right? But in my experience, I would say one thing that's very important is timing. I would not start negotiation on salary or key benefits during the interview process. I would wait until you have an offer, right?
Okay.
And I think that because at that point, the employer wants you to join and wants you on their team. And so you have a bit of leverage, you have some influence that you can use at that point. I also would say there are 4 tools I would recommend that I think could be useful in thinking through how to negotiate in the American context. Okay. And that is, one book is Machiavelli for Women. Machiavelli for Women by Stacey Vanek Smith. And I've also included it in the handout that I've created for our session that we've created in collaboration. So that is a really amazing resource for women, but I think also for men on negotiation, understanding your value in the workplace, and making the case for promotion and development. The second tool I would say is Anything on Negotiation by the man named Chris Voss. He was a head negotiator for the FBI for many years, and now he's a consultant and he's written many books, articles. I believe he also has a podcast on negotiation and how to do it with a sense of confidence and even joy that comes across and is going to set you up for success.
Wonderful. These
The
are.
third
Mm-hmm.
is Switchboard. Switchboard is a
Okay.
great source of resources, articles, blog
It is.
posts, toolkits for
Mm.
newcomers. And they have a specific blog post on how to negotiate wage increases when the cost of living is so high. It's got some great thoughts that would be probably a helpful starting point. And then the fourth is something called ONET.
Mm.
And it's put out by the Department of Labor. So, a government sanctioned tool. And the specific tool is called My Next Move.
Okay.
It's 60 questions. It's not a test. There's no right or wrong answers. It's just to help someone understand what kind of work do they enjoy doing? What kind of skills do they have? And that's something that you can bring into an interview, into your performance evaluations with your supervisor. And just a great way to just demonstrate what you enjoy, what you bring to the company, and also why they should value you in how they pay you and the type of benefits they offer.
That's wonderful. Regarding the Switchboard, do you think that's a public side, or they have to get access? How does it work? Because I think I heard about Switchboard as well, but I want to know some more about it. That how the public or the newcomers can access that, or they can access it through their agency, or how is the process overall? If you want to provide some information about that, that would be very helpful for the audience.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I believe many of the resources on their website are available to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
There may be some resources where you have to create a login and be given permission. But there's webinars, there's, like I said, toolkits. Some pieces are longer, some pieces are shorter, but they have a whole subsection on employment. And if you're someone supporting people in helping get jobs, it's a great resource. But I also think it's important for job seekers themselves to have the mindset of how are employers thinking, right? And how is workforce set up here in the United States? Don't wait on the advocates, do it yourself. You're the most powerful advocate for yourself.
Absolutely.
And you know what you need, and you know how to make that argument.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Very good discussion. Thank you, Mayor Beth, for the wonderful tips and good tools. And I hope the audience notice them and take action. Regarding women, sometimes they take some time away from work, right? That can be for personal reasons, or maybe some other reasons, or maybe some changes, What are some tips? What are some practical strategies so that they can return to work with confidence and then, overall start again? I want to know some good tips about this, because I received some inquiries and, a lot of newcomers or a lot of refugee immigrant women requested more tips on this part. I think your recommendations, your practical strategies will really help them to achieve this goal.
I really appreciate that question. And I would say you've given the main answer already when you use the word confidence. Coming into the process with confidence, but also persistence. And here's what I mean by that. Again, like I said, don't be ashamed, don't be apologetic if you had to take a break from work outside the home. You've been working the whole time, right?
The whole time, exactly, yeah.
Family. So coming into an interview, into the job search with that confidence. Next, I would say have strong references. Seek out people that you perhaps supervised in the past, people that were supervisors to you, people that were teammates. We always say, if possible, have 6 references: 2 supervisors, 2 people you supervised, and 2 people that were your teammates. Exactly. Sometimes that's not possible, but that's the ideal. And ask them ahead of time, will you join me? Would you agree to be a part of my job search? Would you serve as a reference? The other thing I would say is really aim to do this in community. And what I mean by that is, do you have other women who are also looking for a job or perhaps looking for a
With
better
same
job?
journey, yeah.
Same journey, exactly. How can you meet together, regularly, once a week, once every 2 weeks? You can share job postings. You can review each other's cover letters and
Yeah, exactly.
resumes, because finding a job is the job, right? You're aiming for a 10% response rate. If you put out 10 applications and you get one interview, that's a strong response rate. 20 applications, 2 interviews, that's great. But it's hard, it's discouraging, it takes a lot of effort, and at minimum, it usually takes 4 to 6 months to secure a job here in the United States.
It takes,
And
yeah.
that also depends upon what's going on in your field or industry and how the economy is doing at the national and state level. So
Exactly.
it can take a lot of time, and it really takes a lot of persistence.
Exactly. That's, yeah. I mean, because there can be some changes, national crisis, financial crisis, or other stuff going on, or maybe some political changes, right? So overall, as you mentioned, is to have consistency in the research, connections, and even staying in touch with their former colleagues, as you mentioned. That's beautiful. Moving forward regarding the promotion or grow, especially for the women populations, how they can grow in their role, being there in the supervisory positions, and what strategies can help them with promotions so that they can succeed. Any tips in this regard would be very valuable for the women populations looking to grow, and also their promotions to be recognized within the organization. That's the important piece, right?
Exactly.
And their contribution.
Exactly. Well, Zaboon, one thing I forgot to say, and to your previous question, may I add one point that I realized I should have touched on?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. I feel foolish that I forgot to say this, but that one of the best things you can do as a professional, as a person looking for a job, is to enjoy interviewing. Interviewing often makes people nervous, it makes them anxious, there's a lot at risk, but I would say get excited about the interview. You want to act like it is the best job you could ever imagine. And then you can make the decision once you get the offer whether you really want to pursue it or not. But enthusiasm is really hard to turn down. Also, you want to make sure that in the interview, you are putting the focus on the other person, right? It's so easy in an interview just to talk too fast, but to slow it down and to appropriately take control of the interview really shows what you can do as a professional. And so to ask in the interview, what do you want? What do you need this role to accomplish in the first 3 months, 6 months, the first year? How can I make this company better? And then also at the end of the interview afterwards, something that 95% of people do not do is send a thank you note. So sending a thank you by email, sending a thank you by a handwritten note, depends upon obviously the format of the interview. But I would say that's something that I've known people to get a job because of the thank you note when they had less experience and even less education and skills than the other people that were interviewing. It is so powerful.
It is.
And it's something that a lot of people don't think about.
That's an important piece. Yeah, that's helped a lot. I have personally experienced that thank you note, staying in touch with them to see how the process goes. I think that's very important.
Yeah. Well, thank you for letting me add that. But let me actually get back to the question you asked me on professional development or promotion. I would say in terms of really making the case of how to grow in your career, grow in a company, get a promotion, 2 things. 1, track your accomplishments. And 2, really lean into professional development. So when I say track your accomplishments, what I would say is write out or type out every week, what did you accomplish? Ask
Excellent.
yourself, was there a way that I saved my company time or
Mm,
money, or I help them use their time better or make money? Did I catch a mistake? Did a customer say, wow, I really appreciate how you helped me? Did a
mm,
supervisor say, good job? So if you keep that record, no matter how much a supervisor is supportive,
mm,
they're really busy. So it's really on the worker to take responsibility to record and track what they're accomplishing. And I would say my company, currently, we do evaluations every 6 months. If your organization only does evaluations once a year, that's not enough. You really want to ask even for informal evaluations every 6 months, because then you can demonstrate to your supervisor what you've made happen, the good things you've brought. You can learn if there are any concerns or problems
mm.
that they're seeing. And it's also just a great way to demonstrate, hey, I'm still here, I'm still committed, but I'm really hungry and I'm driven for promotion. So to keep me, you need to give me opportunities, because here's what I can bring and here's what I can do for you.
Excellent. That's wonderful. Yeah, I mean, evaluations, being in touch with the employer is definitely important.
I would also say, in terms of professional development, it's a great time once you have an offer, a job offer, to ask, what's your professional development budget? And then
Okay.
using any opportunity. Can you go to conferences? Can you go to industry gatherings? And there are two strategies to that. One, it's a great
Mm,
way, again, to grow your skills, demonstrate your skills. But two, sometimes even if a job or a workplace is great, they're not able to offer you promotion and growth at the pace
mm,
you need. But if you have developed connections in your industry and your field through professional development, training, conferences, that's going to be your first line of companies that you're going to look at to see, can I find promotion there? Can I find
mm.
opportunity there? So it's just growing and expanding your community and your networks.
Absolutely. Wonderful tips. Very valuable, very productive tips. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise, practical strategies. These are all good tips. Uh, Regarding another very important discussion is economic abuse. We see concerns. I wanted to know, how do you define economic abuse, and how to and why it's really important to everyone to understand and talk about it. So I think this is really important discussions, especially nowadays, since you're expert in this industry. It'll be very helpful to know how we should define it and why it's really important for everybody to talk about it.
Yeah, it is. It is such an important and yet often challenging topic to discuss. But the United Kingdom based organization called Surviving Economic Abuse
Mm,
defines it as, it involves the control of a partner or an ex partner's money and finances, as well as the things that money can buy. A lot of times people assume that financial abuse is occurring between wives and husbands, husbands and wives. Yes, that's very
mm.
common, but it also can be between parents and children, between siblings, between
That can happen
caregivers.
between anyone, right?
Anyone. It is so pervasive. And research demonstrates that for people who have domestic abuse or other types of relational violence in their lives, 94% of those people are experiencing economic abuse. And the
Mm,
research also indicates that the number is probably underreported. So 94% is the minimum. Some research would indicate 99%. So it's pervasive. And while it hurts individuals, it hurts whole communities,
it does.
whole families. It holds them back. And it's just something that In my research, I came across the Afghan proverb, one flower does not bring spring, right? And that
Yeah,
how Afghan cultures really love and value the power of community to bring good things. So I
absolutely.
feel like economic abuse is something that's a community problem. So when the community comes together for a solution, it creates just households that can thrive, that can feel free, and then especially, as newcomer communities, it's one less thing to hold you back from really experiencing financial flourishing and stability.
Excellent. That's no, good words, good definition, and thank you for providing those percentages as well. That's good research. The other important piece is, if someone wants to learn more about abuse, like about economic abuse, what they should do, and also regarding the recognition, right? How they should recognize it. And then the important piece is prevention, how to prevent it and overall recover from it. And if they're asking for more help, where they should turn for help. Would like to have your insight regarding this really, really important discussion to help our community save and prevent it successfully.
Yeah, thank you. I would recommend several things. One is I would just encourage everyone, to just understand and do some research on what economic abuse is, and perhaps to ask themselves, hey, is there anyone in my community, my family, perhaps myself, where I am not free to make my own decisions with money, or I have some severe limitations, or I don't understand my financial context because someone's keeping me from that information. And I would say looking at organizations such as Surviving Economic Abuse,
Okay.
the Canadian Center for Women's Empowerment, and the National Network to End Domestic Violence has created a really wonderful curriculum called Moving Ahead, on how to recover. First, to define, right? You can't address an issue unless you understand it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And then to be able to have some strategies of how can people who've experienced this, or perhaps who are vulnerable to experiencing it, recover and really have financial choice and freedom, so that they can benefit and that all of their family can benefit. And I would say in this handout, we have probably 8 or so resources, where on one side is the prevention of economic abuse, but on the other side is men, women, everyone should have access to really solid financial capability and financial management information.
Absolutely.
So that whole families can move forward with a sense of stability and thriving. Economic abuse thrives in stressful situations. And so life is stressful with the cost of living. Having to navigate experiences as a refugee and immigrant is incredibly stressful. So I think coming into it with a sense of understanding of, okay, we probably can't make that stress go away, but how can we navigate it? What can we do about it so that our whole families, our whole communities can be healthier and financially more stable?
Absolutely. These are wonderful tips. And thank you so much again, Amir Beth, for sharing expertise, for walking us through with practical strategies and tips, and those addresses who has tools and toolkits and also resources that will help our community members understand it. Like as you mentioned, first it's important to understand what the definition is, and then by taking actions to recognize and then prevent and recover from it. Overall, a very productive, a very good conversation with you. I would like to thank you again on behalf of the Attain podcast team for accepting our invitation. You're definitely a champion. You're definitely an expert in the area of managing federally funded programs that assisted refugees and newcomers attain self-sufficiency, workforce development, and also economic empowerment. So your community service, your service to women empowerment is greatly appreciated, and we're so proud of you.
Thank you, Sababoon. It's truly an honor and a joy to be here and get to be a part of what you're building. So thank you.